I'm from Avant Assessment. We are a language testing company located down in Eugene. So we've been there since we were kind of established as a company. So language jobs right here in Oregon. We focus just on the testing part of things, okay? So the slides are a little bit hard to read, so I'll help you through them. And I can share this in an email too. So we basically focus on proficiency testing. Everything we do has to deal with language proficiency. We provide reliable data to programs so that they can make decisions that they're already making, right? You have these things you have to decide for language learning. What should I study? What do I need to work on? This will help you because you can rely upon this data. We also have client support. I'm part of that. I help set people up to actually take the test. And we also have individuals back in Eugene in the main office who help out during testing and answer questions, which is very helpful when you're stressed out and dealing with those things. This one's a little hard to read, so I'll help you out. Basically, we're helping to build learners' paths towards language proficiency. We have proficiency tests. The STAMP, WorldSpeak, is for some less commonly taught languages like Vietnamese, Somali. We work with a lot of those groups here in Portland. We have an Arabic proficiency test that we deal in the Middle East. And placement tests. So incoming students maybe around high school or university that have language skill, and we can actually place them into a course that's not just the very beginning, right, that basic level. We also have some tools for teachers. So professional development, as well as Avant Advance, which is online teachers scoring student writing responses. So it helps them score student-created writing material. Today I'm going to talk about our STAMP assessment. It's our most widely used assessment in the U.S. This was developed at the University of Oregon. There's a Center for Applied Second Language Studies. It's called CASELS. So that is kind of a department there down in the University of Oregon. They receive grant funding. They work with states and teachers to make products, resources, and do research around language use. So early 2001, computer testing is just coming out. Language proficiency is very new. So to get 4 state groups together to create an online language proficiency test was kind of cool, you know, and very cutting edge. So these groups got together, they made the test. They were done with the project though, and they said, okay, you know, we want everyone to use what we've created. So Avant Assessment was created to kind of facilitate testing. And so now we have added more languages, we've increased all the skills, so we have reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And we just kind of keep developing and updating things. So that's what our mission is to keep offering this and facilitating the use of this across the nation. So there was, you know, lots of studies and validation that was done to the test actually. So it wasn't just kind of like people writing questions and saying, you know, we think this is a good one. Okay, so language proficiency, this is a big part of today. Has everybody heard of language proficiency? It's okay if you haven't. We're going to talk about it. So proficiency, and what is that? So ACTFL is our American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages. They're our American organization for kind of bringing everybody together and saying, let's think of a common way we can talk about language ability and what we can actually do with the language. So according to ACTFL, language proficiency focuses on what an individual can do with the language, not just about what they know, okay? So actually applying what you've learned in the classroom or, you know, in Saturday school and using your language in real situations. So our STAMP test tries to mimic that. Have real life type questions, so something you'd actually experience language. It's not going to be a, you know, spell this word correctly. Fill in the blank. Those are classroom kind of activities, right? But when I'm out in the world, I have a friend talking to me and he's asked me a question and I need to respond. What did he ask me? Those are the kind of situations you can expect in the STAMP test. So I know, again, it's kind of hard to see here, but this actual inverted pyramid, is that something anyone's ever heard of, the inverted pyramid? Okay, so we see some heads, some maybe not. Basically, the inverted pyramid is created to kind of illustrate and show that as we progress in language learning, there's more and more and more to learn, right? We are novice learners at the beginning. There's these things we have to learn, and we can actually move pretty quickly and start advancing. But if I just keep that narrow and advance only in, let's say, sports, I know all the vocabulary in sports. I may be very advanced in sports, but when it comes to home or cooking or travel, I'm still very novice level learner. So as we grow, we're expanding outwards. So that's kind of why Actual likes to use that inverted pyramid on the side there. Okay, so now this is history. Some history of language proficiency in the US is kind of what I like to call this slide here. Okay, on the far left we have the Avant levels. They directly correlate with actual, those levels we talked about. So novice, intermediate, advanced. It goes off and off above that, but primarily in our university and below, students are not getting above advanced high. Okay, so high school, we're probably down around here. College students, getting up into that advanced area. So in the middle, we'll start out here. ILR, it's kind of a weird one, Interagency Language Roundtable. In the US, it is our government agencies, so FBI, CIA, all of the military. They have a reason to assess individuals with language ability. They needed to assess them at very high levels. This goes off until 5. This was out in about the 1950s, okay? And it's a great scale, it's still in use. But think about our young learners, right? Elementary school. If you study language for years and years, you might be a 0+. 0+. Not so good for our school level children, right? So Actual tried to come out and say, let's think of something more friendly, some language we can use, but something we can actually describe what students can do. Not just, I have an A in Spanish 101, but actually, being able to describe your ability. So they came out with the novice, intermediate, advanced levels, and then there's the low, mid, high, in between all that. Right here, CEFR, CEFR. Anyone heard of that one? Yeah, pretty much used everywhere outside of the US. So you can see, not directly aligning, but a little bit different, okay? So when we think about scores, assessments, what they're looking at, these are some ways we can kind of correlate. It's not exact, but similar. Far right, CBC, this is the AP test. So if we take an AP test in high school, we know that scoring a 3 will actually get us some college credit and mean something. So coming back from that 3, all the way over here, we're about that intermediate mid, intermediate high. So in Oregon, that's what they want students to be at, intermediate high, to get the seal by literacy.
What's AP?
AP would be an advanced placement. So an AP high school. Yeah. You actually get college credit if you score a 3 on the AP test. And so that's, a good value there. But here in Oregon,
high again? The last thing you said, intermediate high? What was
intermediate high, level 6, is Oregon's seal by literacy. And we're going to talk more about that too.
And that's a score of 3.
A score of 6 on the STAMP test, intermediate high, correlates to the AP score of 3.
And that's the Oregon SCAT, Oregon.
Yeah, for the state of Oregon.
SCAT, what do we call it?
The seal of biliteracy. Yeah, and so that's what we're going to get all the students in the Polish program earning a seal of biliteracy before they graduate high school. So I'm just going to stop and talk about our STAMP test very briefly. So the STAMP test was actually created in the Polish language last year. So I talked about this briefly, but we actually partnered with the Polish consulate in Chicago. Some community members did some fundraising, and they funded the development of the Polish STAMP test, okay? So now, Illinois, Chicago, they've tested like 400 some students last year to get the seal by literacy. So Oregon, we're gonna test some more students and give them, a run for their money and get students recognized out here too. So this is available now in Polish. I have some screenshots, but again, it's fuzzy. There's a sample test online. You can all go take that afterwards. I hope it would be more fun for you guys. Basically, you go online. Everything's online. You log into the test. There's start a new test, continue a test. Proficiency is serious. It takes a little bit of time for us to ask enough questions to get a confidence level to say the student's actually at intermediate, mid, or wherever they're at. So if we only ask 5 questions, we have a very low level of confidence that we're reporting correctly. So we're going to ask a little bit more questions, which does take some time, right? Test time is a big deal, but we've broken this up so you can start and resume, basically. You don't have to sit there and take the whole test, which can be about 2 hours. Just depends on the student. We're not timing it. They can take longer or shorter, but we want them to feel, comfortable, prepared, and not tired and fatigued and just sick of it, right? So take a break, walk away, come back. But starting a new test, you come in, put in your login name. There's some basic information about who you are, so you're identified for your teacher. And then it's pretty simple: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Coming back, you might continue mid-section. So you're in the middle of writing, you have to start back right there in writing. In our tests, we have it set up so you have to take reading or listening first. Reading and listening are what we refer to as a receptive skill. I'm receiving language input, right? So I'm sitting here, I'm listening, or I'm reading something. With the speaking and the writing, you're actually producing your own language, okay? And that can be a little bit more challenging for some students. So with the reading and listening, the students start with those sections. We actually use the reading score to help figure out what questions are more appropriate for writing, and same with listening and speaking. So if we know a student was really struggling in listening, we're probably not going to challenge them with those really difficult speaking questions. We're going to give them more questions at their level. We'll still try and challenge them up to that next level, but we're really saying, hey, what's your current level? Not, here's everything, can you do any of it? It's kind of just saying, show us the best you can do in this test. So in this test, there's no 100%, there's no right or wrong, it's just what you can do and what your level is. That's what we're going to find out. So again, about a 2-hour test here. I don't know if you guys can read this very well, but 30 multiple choice questions, reading and listening, so 30 each. Those are computer scored, you'll get immediate results. Writing and speaking, you'll get 3 chances to respond to questions, and you have as much time, but typically about 20 to 25 minutes, students are responding. And then we actually have human raters at Avant. One of them is a parent now of a student. Her daughter is attending your school, and so we're always looking for people with college degrees who would like to be raters for Avant. We have a 7 business day or less turnaround on scores, and so the more students testing in Polish, the more Polish raters we'll need. But basically, we score them for you. You guys don't have to worry about scoring them. So it's all scored, but you get to see the response that the student provided. So if you had your student or your son or daughter taking the test, you could actually see, here's the question they were asked and what they gave. Because we'll tell you what we scored them, but if you can also see, what they produced, that helps inform you and say, oh, that's why they received the score they did, okay? So we're not trying to hide it, we want you to understand. So going into the actual test now. I have some sample items here. Again, go online, you can see them better. This would be reading. So we're going to pose a situation. I'm going to show some picture to help get you guys thinking and set the scene. Because language occurs in context, right? Here's how you're experiencing this piece of language. And then on the right-hand side, what do we want you to do? So it actually says what time is mentioned in this note. So you arrive at your classroom to find a note posted on the door. It's very common. So we're not asking, look at this, for them to translate the whole thing. We're not asking for that. We're just saying, in context, what time is mentioned? This is a novice level item. In our sample test, we identify that. In the actual test, it's a mystery. The students will move through the test, and that's the fun part about STAMP, is actually adaptive. So So let's see, what time is mentioned. As soon as a student clicks the response, they'll show a little check mark there, and then they can move on. You do need to answer. There's no skipping. There's no going back. You just make an answer and go forward. So this one is going to be now intermediate level. So again, kind of fuzzy, but longer text, right? More to read. What kind of a store is the flyer advertising? So now we're talking about stores and businesses. And then advanced level, much more writing, right? Lots more to read. And it's going to be more of like a news story. So we bring in actual authentic news stories and articles from the target country usually to build the items there. So it's more authentic and real. Okay, now this is kind of the geeky background scene. Okay, so basically this is going to show you that moving through the test, it is adapting, but not after every single question, because that can really get confusing and crazy. So we're taking blocks of 10, and the research has shown this to be most effective to identify a student's current ability. And the good thing about this is your more advanced students still see 30 questions. Your novice level students just starting out, 30 questions. So it's equal for everybody, but as we saw, those writing lengths might get a little bit longer, right? Or reading everything might take a little bit longer at the advanced level than down here. But basically, it's adapting throughout this, and by the end, we know where they're at. We have that confidence we need to say, all right, the students right now, they're at intermediate low, or wherever that may be. So it's gonna do this for reading and for listening too, those multiple choice areas. Okay, and so you do reading, there's, again, 30 questions, it's adapting, you're like, hey, I did all right because you weren't challenged too inappropriately, but you can see that you've completed that. Students typically go into writing now. So with writing, it's going to be typing. Is typing difficult for students typically in Polish? No? That's good.
Yes, it is. It's the hardest one.
Is that hard? So if students don't know how to type yet in Polish?
Oh, I mean type.
Type?
Oh, type.
Type.
It's not hard.
No.
Okay.
The
type?
symbols are provided.
Yes,
they
it's hard to see, yes. Any accented symbol is going to be there. Yeah. Yes. So we do have handwritten available. You have to print something out, they write on it, you scan it back in and send it to us if you need it. But of course we want them to keyboard because that's how you talk with your friends and everything. But yes, the characters are shown here with a little arrow to capitalize them, make them lower or uppercase. And this big wall of text over here, this is in English. If you have any students maybe who don't understand that much English in writing form, again, it's really hard to see, no one can read it right now. But they can listen here. So this actually says click to listen in Polish, and they can listen and have it read to them. It's not going to be written in Polish because when we did that in field testing, all the kids started just writing down the exact question we were asking them. They're just like, oh, I'll write this down, I've got all this language to use. So yeah, so we didn't write it down. They can listen to it, and then they'll be able to type. And they have as much time as they need. They'll see 3 of these. So the idea, they get a topic or some content that they're really strong in, and they can show what they can do.
Are the answers like a one sentence or a few sentences?
Right, and so with proficiency, it's not about how much you write, but more about the complexity. So I can say, I like cake, I like ice cream, I like balloons. But if you say, I like cake and ice cream on my birthday, and I like to have it with my friends because it makes me happy when I was a child, you're doing all this complexity and adding that in. So that's going to be what's most important. And we do have a rubric that explains those elements online. It needs to be shared with the students before they test, because that's how you understand, again, do I write 100 words or do I write really good complex words? Yeah. Good question though. So coming into listening, this one is going to look really a lot like the reading, except instead of interacting with the image, we have this play button. So the students come in and they're going to be listening to things. It's, articles, conversations, things like this. This is a conversation that you overhear between a traveler and an agent at the airport. So they're going to listen to that. They don't need to have ever been to an airport or have studied that, but they're going to listen in context. So over here it says, what does the woman want to know? Choose the best answer. So as a test taker, I can come in, I can read the possible answers before I even listen. So that's kind of some tips on how to take the test, and how to be successful. What is it asking for? Not, I'm going to sit here and listen and try and translate every single word, because that's not what we do in the real world. We have an objective and we're going to listen and pick out what we need to answer. So again, 30 of these, that was novice. Intermediate, this one is, you hear the following announcement on a radio station. So pretty common, listening to the radio. This one is another story on the radio. Very good source for the audio. Something about some monkeys in Thailand. Okay, now we've come to the speaking section, all right? Speaking, just like writing. 3 questions, except that we're recording, so we have a headset with a microphone that we can actually record. We are compatible with iPads and those headsets too that work, a laptop, a computer. So whatever kind of device the student has for testing, they can use that. Again, big wall of English. If that's too difficult, student can click here and listen to that read to them. They can do both if they like. And again, they have time to sit there, compose their thoughts, and then record things. So they're just going to click to begin recording over here. Once they've recorded, first things first, listen to what you recorded. You are the one submitting this and saying, this is my response. So if you like what you've recorded, you've captured everything, go ahead and hit next, you're good. If you think, well, I forgot something, oh shoot, that's okay, you can add to it. So you don't have to start over and redo it all, you can just keep adding to it. You can do that as much as you want. Worst case scenario, you can delete it all. Some kids will sit there and delete it. So watch them, Again, proficiency is spontaneous and on demand. So here's a situation, use your language skills to respond to that and communicate with somebody. So it's not really about sitting there and writing an essay, writing the first draft, the second draft, things like that. It's more going to be, okay, right on demand, on the spot. So having students understand that is important, because when they go in and they have these feelings of anxiety or maybe feeling uncomfortable talking into a computer, just help them understand what the objective is. We always get students in this part who will whisper too and don't want anyone to hear them, so we need them to talk loud enough. Again, we do have humans who are trying to listen and score this. So 3 of these guys. So that was really the whole testing experience. Again, go on, try the sample test. What the teachers get back online, reports of all the students and their scores, right? Because that's important, they need to look at that. This would be something they'd send off to the state for getting that seal of biliteracy. And what you guys would look at if you tested with your students. There's also the individual report. So the individual report can be handed to the students. We have that upside down inverted pyramid again, showing kind of where they're at. For the teachers and the people who administer the test, they can actually go in here and access those writing and speaking, remember, to see the question and the response that the student gave. So it's all in there and it's kind of interactive that way. And we never get rid of anything. It's all going to be online, so you can always kind of log back in. It's not going to be deleted. So online resources. This one isn't going to be very easy to see, but if you'd like, please give me your email address at the end or whatever. I can share this electronically, and again, the website's online. But basically, we have a lot of resources. We try to put them online so that you guys could easily access them before testing or just inform yourselves. So there's, the rubric. What is proficiency? What do I need to show in order to score intermediate high in reading, writing, listening, or speaking? Test taker guide, I'm going to take the test. What's it going to look like? What do I do? Test taker parent, kind of this, what I'm doing, explains what proficiency is, what the test is, why we use it. Power Up guide is really cool, it's new. So it's for a language learner. Maybe I took the test and I know where I'm at and I want to do better. So I want to work on my speaking. this guide says, if you're at whatever level you're at, let's say intermediate low, here's what you can work on to get to intermediate mid in speaking or whatever skill. So this guide is designed to help someone on their own or with a teacher to advance and kind of power up to the next level. So lots of resources. Again, there's the sample test, so we mentioned that. In addition to Polish, we service a lot of languages. So this is the incentive to the school districts that your children are in, that, hey, if you're already buying Spanish or French tests, Polish tests, same cost. Get a couple extra and test these students as well, not just the Spanish kids, you know. All these languages that you just see here, same type of testing interface, it's all the same. So it's common assessment, everyone's kind of able to take something similar. We do have the World Speak test as well for some of those really uncommon languages. Tagalog, Somali, Vietnamese, most popular in this region. But this is a test we actually partnered with these language communities to build the test so they could have something. But the Polish mission wanted to fund the full 4 skill. World Speak just has writing and speaking, so those productive language skills. So now the seal of biliteracy. Some information about it. Has anyone heard of it before today? Yeah, good, yes. Okay, so seal of biliteracy. It's basically a seal or a certificate that a person right now in the schools, so high school age basically is when you're earning the seal of biliteracy upon graduation from high school. Oregon this year is also looking at colleges. So students have already graduated, now they're in college. Let's recognize them as well if they can score at the level. So that's Oregon doing that. And then we're going to talk about the global seal next too. So right now in Oregon, the seal of biliteracy is an award given by a school district, or the state in recognition of students who have studied and attained proficiency in 2 or more languages. And so we have some students who actually get this in 3 languages, 2 languages, English plus something is kind of how they look at it here. So English, Polish, English, Spanish, and you can get as many as the languages you can look in. Yeah.
So I was a little late, but so
Yeah.
I think you mentioned it, so the seal is only given to the kid once they attain an intermediate to high
Yeah, intermediate high.
on the ILR.
Yeah,
So if they don't make it 1 year, they could do it another year.
That's right.
You have to just keep pay every year you do it.
Yeah,
Do you have a limit how many times you can?
No, we don't as a company, but again, proficiency takes time. So study, make sure you study, or maybe you didn't understand what you're supposed to do. We see that sometimes, the students like, what? I didn't know I was supposed to do that, right? I wrote 100 words, but they were all the
So
same.
you would recommend
Yeah.
waiting till towards the end of high school, or?
Whenever you can afford it, because if the student feels prepared, again, look at that rubric, see where they might feel that they're at. But if you're not there, you want to know it before the very last minute, so you have the time, right, to work up. Yeah, so for this test with us,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
$17.50, so it's under $20 per test, that's the whole thing.
And also how young kids can be to take this test.
So in Oregon, 8th grade, the end of 8th grade, kind of going into high school, think about it like that. A lot of the school districts with immersion programs, they don't have them in high school. The kids aren't as immersed anymore, and they actually kind of start losing their language skills. So that's a big reason why school districts in the state push for testing at the end of 8th grade.
And it
So
doesn't expire once you take it and you.
once you've hit that, yeah, after that 8th grade, before graduation, that's right. Yes, exactly, and that's why they're saying, you know, let's get them at that peak before they go out and have all these high school electives they have to take care of. That's right.
Yeah, Kubu's got this test.
And so right now, again, this is school districts, so some of our private institutions that teach language are kind of left in the dark in Oregon for this, but this was approved in April of 2016 in Oregon, and intermediate high, which amongst all the states, there are some others that have intermediate high, but that is the highest level. So it's a very rigorous level, intermediate high. Yes?
Sorry for interrupting.
No.
We are not sure if we got the price right.
$17.
One
That's
sentence?
it?
17.
70.
It's
Teen,
not
17.
$24.95?
No, for the seal of biliteracy, Avant has a special, so just under $18, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's
Very
amazing.
affordable. That's the idea, is that there's no limit on price, you know? That's not the reason that you don't.
They didn't?
But
Mhm,
they did it in school.
mhm.
But how did they apply? So
We're getting there.
they.
Just for reference though, in Washington, just across the river here, they're intermediate mid, so a little bit lower. More students are achieving that because it's one level lower. I think the lowest level is intermediate low. Some states have that as their level. Oregon actually came out at advanced low. Advanced low is what we have our language teachers in school districts. That's how much they need to be. And so Oregon was kind of a little bit bold to start out with that, and then we moved it down to intermediate high because no one was getting it, you know. So intermediate high, you know, it's very prestigious if you can do this. So at the intermediate high, we talked briefly about Washington. They, at the state level, also award world language credit to high school students. So I come in to my high school district, you know, 9th grader. I take a stamp test. I score intermediate mid. I get 4 high school world language credits and the seal of biliteracy waiting for me when I graduate. And so that's something that Washington does. I know it's close by, that's why I mention it. Oregon does this on a district decision. So school districts need to decide. Portland Public awards language credit to students. Lake Oswego is one that does as well. So basically, seal of biliteracy is something to certify your language, okay? A lot of people will say, I think I'm this, or I think I can do this. Oh yeah, I could get that job. But this actually says it. Look, a testing company that I'm not affiliated assessed me and says that I'm at this level. And I'm recognized right now. It's credentialing your language, similar to, you know, when you apply to a job, this is something you can put with your resume and show that as proof. So this is a really, really hard one to see. It looks like all difficult, but basically, again, I can share this with you all. Oral proficiency levels in the workplace. So the levels along this is intermediate low, intermediate mid, and high. So here's our intermediate high. The type of jobs you can get are your firefighter, utilities, auto inspector, aviation, so people who work at the airports, tour guides. You're getting a pay grade, basically, so your pay grade bump. You're getting paid more at that intermediate high level, which is what Oregon's looking for. The next level up, that's all your language teachers, social workers, police officers. So one more level of study, and those students can go off and do those type of jobs and get actual pay for that. So this can be helpful for showing how the levels correlate to jobs that they might be interested in. Okay, I'm gonna switch over to another slide for our global seal biliteracy. Take a breather. I talk fast, you guys understanding, keeping up?
Except the price.
Yes, right? It's just so cheap. This one is even better price too. So what is the seal of biliteracy? We talked about that one a little bit. This is a little bit bigger, maybe you can see it. There's a lot of the state seals. So Oregon is right here, you can kind of see our shape there. But basically, you know, all the states, different levels, they've come out with them at different times as well. So all these states have different levels. What if I move? What if I want to go to college in a different state? We kind of talked about this a little bit. So basically, we have created a global seal of biliteracy. So this is something that Avant has sponsored. It's not affiliated with us, but we sponsor it. So the global seal of biliteracy is designed for all of those people, not just school-age students, who have language ability and need it certified or credentialed, right? They need something that shows, yes, I can do this. So anyone here, you know, we're all available to get the global seal. You don't have to be in a school district to get this, right? So there's a lot of people that we just thought of, right, that aren't in a school district right now who could get this. So again, we talked about this a little bit. There was about 482 Polish tests, stamp tests taken last year. right? It just came out in the spring, so there wasn't too much time, but we're going to increase that. We talked about STAMP already, of course. So why the Global Seal? Again, credential your language. It's designed for everybody, not just the school students, and you can take it anywhere. It's not just the Oregon Seal by Literacy, it's a global one. So it's recognized throughout the world. So yeah, here's some of those people who, you know, aren't in school districts who can be included with a Global Seal.
Is it recognized in Poland?
Yes, because the Polish consulate here in Chicago has partnered with us, and so they have fought to get recognition for that intermediate high or whatever level here. So Oregon was intermediate high. The Global Seal has 2 levels. They call it the working fluency, and it's going to be, this one's newer. So it's intermediate mid, 1 step below Oregon's, and advanced low. So there's 2 different levels. So it's kind of like if you hit Oregon's level, you've got the intermediate mid already, but you can keep challenging yourself and get the advanced working fluency. Again, at that advanced low where our language teachers and police officers are at there. Okay, how to apply. So for the Global Seal, this is a Global Seal again, there's a website. So you just go onto their website, you take the test, you know, go take their Stamp Polish test, and then you're able to provide them with your score and receive a certificate. For Oregon, you mail it to the state. So your school district, you know, that you're a part of or that your children go to, they test the students, they mail it off to an individual at the State of Oregon Department of Education, and they facilitate that. With the Global Seal, here's the cost, it's free. So if you're already going for the Oregon Seal, mail in your test scores to the Global Seal. You get it for free right now. This is an introductory offer. I don't think it's going to last forever because I don't know how you could just give it away for free. But basically, you're going to get this free certificate and 2 of the Seal stickers. So you can use them for the certificate and somewhere else on the student diploma if you need to, or whatever you're handing to them. There's also a medallion, so that actually kind of award necklace thing that you can put around your neck. That you can get. There's additional packages that you can purchase, kind of things like that, little pieces of flair. But for right now, the actual seal, you get mailed it for free. So you can do that for any of your students or parents or individuals who want to get recognized with the Global Seal. So universal award that crosses the state lines. And it helps for opportunities with placing students in colleges, you know, if they're going to go somewhere else. Here's something that shows what I can do. It's pretty recent from my high school, you know, career or something like that. And it aligns to those common proficiency skills, you know, CEFR and ACTFL that are used throughout the world. So for our community heritage language programs, not many of them have funding right now to assess all the students, or maybe there's not a language test available for them to test students. So these are some of the challenges we see. Cost of those tests is more than $17.50. There's some language tests out there that teachers, for instance, use for over hundreds of dollars. And so again, the heritage schools aren't really included in that state seal. And there's very few international tests that students come to the country with that are accepted here for the state seals of biliteracy. So some reasons that the solution could be the Global Seal for these students. So participating in the Global Seal program is available to anybody. So you can even, you know, have the kiddos and the parents going for it and talking about their language together. And so here's the information about the Consulate General of the Republic of Poland in Chicago, along with some community members. So they did some fundraising. And yeah, funded development of the Polish Stamp for Us test. And so again, we're gonna try and increase awareness now. That's why you guys are here. You've learned a lot about proficiency and how it's different than just learning a language, and how you can certify, credential yourself, and just get recognized. So go out and spread the word. See, this one says it only costs $24.90, but again, special price, come to Bonnie. $17.50, all 4 skills. We support you through testing. So go ahead and build community support and awareness. So just so we can get more recognition, people know what this is and want to get it and are getting it. Registration is available now, so go ahead and register for the Global Seal. If you're already testing, if you have students already getting the Oregon Seal, just send your scores in. It's already done, right? And so go ahead and get them an extra recognition. And yeah, this is for everybody. So adults, college students can be certified, not just our high school students who are in school. And you can also have testing days and invite community members, maybe people who aren't, enrolled in the school, but just have a testing day. They can come and pay their fee. You can even charge them more and keep a little bit on the side so that you're not just volunteering all your time. We have a lot of schools who do that already for, just language testing in general, have a community testing day, and people can come in and have the opportunity to test. Of course, there's resources online for this as well. The Global Biliteracy Seal website has a lot of information. It has information on the states too, so if you want to learn about your state, you can go there. Linda Egnatz, she's in Chicago. She is the one who coordinates the Global Seal and mailing all of those certificates out. All right, that is question time.
This is for kids or adults as well?
The Global Seal's for anybody. The Stamp 4S assessment that Avant has built is designed for language learners, grade 7th and above. So it's developmentally appropriate situations. We have an elementary test, not yet in Polish. We hope to have one someday. But the elementary test that we design, the real world is their home, the classroom, toys, friends. Our students, as they get older, their life changes, right? They're going out into the mall, they're seeing things, stores, friends more often than just your immediate family. And so the situations you'll see are going to be, young adult, and then especially going into the advanced levels, they're going to be complex news stories and articles that you're listening and interpreting and then responding about. So Global Seals for everyone. Right now, the Oregon Seal Biliteracy just for college and high school age. Yeah.
So the global seal, do you just go online and take that too, or because you were mentioning
Yeah.
you have to...
So you can take the test once, right? Let's say we just took the test. You know something about your language ability, you can use your scores, and if they're at intermediate high in reading, writing, listening, and speaking, they do have to be across all skills, at the minimum. You just send it off. So you take the test, maybe you took it in your school district or in Saturday school here, and you've met that level. You can use it for the Oregon State Seal, you could use it for Global Seal, you could even use that score itself and show a college or somebody or a worker that this is my level. The certificate is actually gonna, say that, hey, some company said that I am certified at this level. So taking the test is one step, and then you kind of send the results off places. You don't have to take the test each time you want to send the results.
So it's the same test for
Yeah.
both things? Okay, so like,
Yeah.
if hypothetically I wanted the test,
Yes.
would I sort of go and pay the $17?
Yes, so you need to test. You can't just test on your own. Someone has to proctor this. So testing could happen here, right? Somebody acts as proctor who walks around and makes sure you're not using your book or your phone or your friend and administers the test. So that's all that needs to happen. You need at least 5 people to test. We do have a minimum order right now. But those 5 tests you could use all year, so they're good for 2 school years. So this like whole year and all of next year, you could definitely come up with 5 people, right? But school districts, maybe you might have the opportunity in your school district. We have some here in Oregon. Go to your language person or whoever is coordinating testing for that purpose and say, if you're using STAMP already, they have Polish, order some Polish. I'll give that to them and they can go in and test in Polish. But that's kind of how you test. It is an online test, but you need to test with kind of an organization like that. We don't directly work with students just yet. But because we want someone to control those results and what they mean, and if you're just sending in your own scores, you might say, oh, this is a 6, and pass that in, and so it kind of has that security. Good question, though.
I have
Yeah.
a question. So, in Oregon, in every high school,
Yes.
the test is available, right?
Yes.
Now, I spoke with my friend from Colorado. She has a
Oh,
daughter,
yeah.
and she went to her counselor and asked she would like to have a test.
Yeah.
They have no idea about the test.
Yes. So
So how do we start?
So,
if they like to test
yes.
children in Colorado.
put them in contact with our company.
Okay.
It's my colleague, her name is also Bonnie,
Okay.
Bonnie Flint. She manages our accounts in Colorado, and I can help you with this too.
Okay.
Basically, they just need to say, hey, I need some Russian or some Polish tests, or whatever language,
Uh-huh.
and we say, all right, here it is, here's your purchase, and we go through the order steps with them. But the school just needs to get with it. A lot of times, schools are still adopting this, even in Oregon. It's on the school. They know about it. Maybe they don't, but they know, oh gosh, I have to do this, and it's on them to. So help them out. Say you know about it. Here's some information. They probably like the information, but don't be surprised if you meet other people who haven't heard about this. Even the schools, it's their mission. They need to provide this, and so now you're informed that there is something available. If they don't know that, you can help them. But again, there are still a lot of schools and people and teachers out there learning about this, and so the ones that are providing it already are leading the pack, kind of. And so that's what we want to increase. Exactly.
Yeah, in my knowledge that all 8th graders are tested at Beaverton's school district
Yes.
now.
Mhm.
By
As of this year.
proficiency,
Yeah.
The other question, so this was Colorado, is Bonnie
Yeah.
available for schools in California also?
California,
Or
we
to
have a
different
different-
people from
yeah.
different
States. Yeah. Exactly.
So if I would like to send information to California, Nevada, Utah,
Mhm.
all the
Our
Pacific
region.
states,
Yeah. Mhm.
do they contact Bonnie or someone else?
We'll probably just use generic, so, Avant Assessment, just contact us, and then we'll kind of grab it, who's necessary,
Okay,
we can do that and see
So I can
what
tell them
state.
that they need to personally contact you, and then you will give them
That's
information
right.
and send them
Right.
steps what to do.
Mhm. We like to kind of walk you through it so that we make sure you're set up the right way. And every state, again, has a different level.
Yes.
Global Seal is one, but the state levels are all a little different, so that's why we know our regions best and we can do that, yeah.
All right, thank you.
No, thank you. Yeah, we need to spread the word, especially in Polish. Thank you for your time, everyone. Thank you. Uh-huh. And so, online resources, we can all go and take a sample test, read some of the resources. I have some paper, again, I can have you guys write down your names and stuff, and so I can send this out, or I can just share with you, and then you can distribute whatever's easiest. But yeah, I want you guys to have that information and let us know. Again, we're just down in Eugene, Oregon. Avant Assessment is the company. The more Polish students testing, the more jobs we can create, right, for the Polish readers. So we'll get some more jobs going for the Polish language. It'll be fun. But yeah, get those school districts moving. I did reach out to the state representative for Oregon just in the middle of the week, so she didn't have time to get back to me. But I was curious, how many students, if any, last year received the seal by literacy in Polish?
No,
Yeah.
it was just
Yeah.
fresh. We
Yeah.
didn't have
No,
a chance.
Too new.
I tried to find it for my son, he was a senior in
Yeah.
high school.
Mm. So
But
now
he's
the
in
global,
Eugene.
yeah.
Now he's in Eugene.
Oh,
He can, he's doing his Spanish test Monday, but maybe you can do his
Yeah,
Polish
of course.
later.
So all information we have here.
yeah. And I should have my email address on that as well. But again, go to the website. Lots of information there. Yep, that will list all of the languages that we offer currently, and we're always building more.